Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I am Ron, and I'm here with Jake, as always. How you doing, Jake?
Hey, man, what's happening?
Not much. We have something a little different.
Yeah,
a little different tonight.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about the movie Prometheus.
Oh, yes, the masterpiece that is Prometheus.
But
Absolutely.
this has been a long time coming because we used to, what was it, Friday nights?
Yep.
We had a little barn that we used to drink in together.
The barn tavern.
And we would always be talking about movies and comics and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I brought up Prometheus, and I think I was a little timid. I was scared to say that I liked it. I was
Yes.
like, I kind of like it.
Kind of similar to how you reacted to a Blade Runner. You know, it's like you're kind of shy about, admitting that to people. Then once, you kind of get a feeling for it.
Because,
warm up to it.
it does have a reputation of... A lot of Alien fans don't really like it that much.
Yeah.
And so I thought you were like, oh, dude, what are you, a fucking idiot?
Understandable assumption on your part, I would say.
And then I was very surprised when you're like, I actually kind of like it too.
Yes, it's one of those guilty pleasures, man.
So that's when the idea was born, and this is almost a year ago now.
Oh, yeah.
And we kind of wanted to do a podcast just sort of in defense of the movie, pretty much as we can.
Right, yes.
Because obviously it's flawed.
But from some person's perspective, other people look at this and then realize it for the masterpiece that it is.
But yeah, there are certain elements in it that are actually pretty cool. So we just thought it would be a good idea to sit and chat about this, and who knows what people are going to think about it.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could only imagine. It's kind of a weird fucking movie. It's deep, and then it's absolutely ridiculous to a certain degree. You kind of get both ends of the spectrum because it's raising the whole, ancient aliens, fucking the engineers, everything was engineered by this higher intelligence, and it's what was that theory called? It's the ancient alien theory. If you're watching Ancient Aliens on History Channel.
Oh my god, how long has Ancient Aliens been on?
Fucking 87 years. It feels like.
What year did that start?
I don't like. It had to. I think 2009, 2010, and it hasn't stopped since. And it's always the same theory.
Oh god.
Fucking aliens. Fucking, a dollar goes in, a soda comes out. Fucking aliens. So, nonsense.
Yeah, this is obviously this movie. So just a little background. I mean, I'm sure anybody listening to this knows about Prometheus, but this came out in 2012.
Yep.
It was exciting for me at the time because
absolutely.
Obviously, I'm a huge Alien fan.
Ridley Scott in general.
The first two films.
Oh yeah. Yes.
That's about where it stops.
Yeah, I would agree.
Love Alien. That's probably my second favorite sci-fi movie under Blade Runner, which is insane that Ridley Scott holds the top two for me.
So I feel very similar. It's that both of those movies are in my top 5. But the thing about Alien and Blade Runner is my favorite is the one I'm watching at that time. So if I'm watching Alien, I'm like, man, what this is definitely
1A, 1B.
Right, and then fucking if I'm watching Blade Runner, I'm like, fuck, this is definitely my favorite.
Wow,
it's but it's both. They're both fucking masterpieces.
I think I've just gone by what I watch more, and I watch Blade Runner more.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Absolutely.
kind of,
yeah.
I came to my decision with that. Just like, what? I used to fucking watch Blade Runner every night. So,
but it was exciting having. So when the trailer came out for this movie, it was just exciting having something by the original director of fucking Alien. Something set in that universe, and that idea being revisited or re-explored through, I guess, whatever lens. I don't know.
Well, I do like that. Here's the first thing I'll say about this. It's very exciting to see that. Obviously, Ridley Scott's coming back to this universe.
Yeah.
One of his earliest films, Alien, huge movie, critically acclaimed. Did so much for not only the science fiction genre, but also horror.
Yeah.
All that stuff. We could...
Absolutely.
we're not saying anything that anybody else has already said here.
No, we're not. Yeah.
But it was exciting at the time because, he's coming back.
Hmm?
I remember seeing the trailer. I was like, okay. I remember specifically because Noomi Rapace or whatever, she's in this movie. She's the lead. I remember seeing her in those Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies.
Fucking awesome movies.
Really like those, like the Swedish ones.
Oh, no, yeah, just the Swedish ones.
And they used to be on Netflix. Netflix was like cool back in the day, the streaming. Like had some really cool shit like that.
Absolutely. It had like the extended edition or
and
something.
I remember really liking her in those movies and watching the trailer thinking that's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Good casting, for sure.
For this type of movie.
Absolutely. The cast is kind of awesome in this movie in general.
Yeah.
Except for, well, we'll get
we'll
to that. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah,
but, so Idris Elba, Charlize Theron, and all fucking really good cast. Except for Guy Pearce, we'll get to that.
Oh no, yeah, okay. We might have a little differing opinion.
We definitely will.
So yeah, the trailer comes out. I'm excited. It looks really fucking great.
Oh, visually.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
And that's one of the pluses of this movie.
Definitely.
So yeah, it comes out. I think people were expecting, and I was too, because you see the trailer and it's you think they're not showing everything, and you think there's going to be a bunch of xenomorphs in it. And we're gonna get this, but it actually works in the movie's favor to not really have anything like that, and then to just kind of plant the seeds for that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fine because this movie held up on its own. It still had some of the elements that you like for an alien movie. You had, I like that, we'll just go to the beginning of it real quick, just with David. We'll shoot back to, Shaw.
Right.
We'll shoot back to her because I think they kind of started off, well, the engineers as well, but
yeah,
just real quick.
Which visually, the first 5 minutes of this movie is incredible.
Yeah.
Just what it tries to set up. You have no fucking idea what's going on. It's just some random white, like pasty white motherfucker standing at the side of a waterfall, very nice looking waterfall, and he just, I don't know, he drinks from this fucking thing, and
that sounds like me, a pasty white guy,
pretty much
drinking by the side of a waterfall.
Pretty much. But it's just super weird, and the motherfucker just disintegrates, and it cuts right into...
Yeah, okay, you know what?
It's just odd.
Yeah. I like that they started differently, so we'll go back a little bit. Because I was going to say, they do have the scenes of, like a crew waking up from cryo sleep, so that's familiar to the Alien universe.
Yes.
But at the same time, they don't start it off like that, like they did with the original Alien.
Right.
So we have something a little different now with the engineers. And it looks great. Yeah. I mean, and even those, I don't know where they shot that, even if they shot on location.
It has to be green screen. There's no fucking way that's a
the
real
beginning?
place. Yeah, there's no way that's a real fucking place.
Because I feel like you can film that.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine.
It's not anything that
if you're Peter Jackson.
Yeah, true.
He probably owns, like, all that shit. Like, no way.
There's also Ridley Scott.
Well, yeah, but just in terms of, like, epic, actual things that exist in nature... Like, New Zealand pretty much has the monopoly on that.
All right, so let's start off with that opening scene. Let me get your take on that. What's your whole take on that? Because you really like that opening.
Oh, it's fantastic. So it's not, but there's really not a whole hell of a lot happening. It's really just the dude. He's standing there. There's something very sacrificial about what's going on right now.
Right.
You don't really. There's no real notion of why or what he's sacrificing himself for or to or whatever the case might be. But whatever, he drinks from this thing, it's the whatever it is, it disintegrates him. It's all interesting, but there's no real exposition happening, or there's no real context being given. You're just like, okay, these people... There's something very similar to myself. You can kind of see an echo of a reflection of a human being in what you're seeing. So that is kind of inferred, and you understand that. But really, there's nothing referenced to it again. It's just there's this really nice looking 5 minutes, and then it's gone. It's like, oh, what was that? That was nice for a minute. It was super weird.
Do you think? All right, because
I love
what
it.
they're
It's
saying
cool.
there is when he does drink that little vial of that black goo
The
or whatever,
black, the ooh, whatever.
it obviously kills him and he falls into the waterfall. But that was, I think, supposed to say that that accident. I don't even know if it's an accident. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose. He knew he was going to die. Creates life on Earth.
Gotcha.
So the engineers were responsiple for
that was the creation of life.
Yeah, which is weird because if you look through the whole movie,
right?
Or whatever, if you're thinking about the whole movie, everything that black goo touches turns to fucking shit. It just ruins everything. So I don't understand how something on Earth, his body and that black goo getting into the water stream or whatever creates life. But that's what they're talking about throughout the whole movie.
Well, I know, yeah. I understood that aspect of it. There's that emphasis on evolution and where do we come from and what's the next step. And, so if we come from the engineers, if the engineers engineered us, what would be, the next logical step in that, and that's us creating some form of artificial intelligence or some form of artificial person, and that's kind of what you get with the David storyline, and it picks right up with that.
Yeah, so, before that, so then there's kind of like an archaeological dig, right? And we have Shaw.
I have an issue with this whole thing. This is where the first issue comes in with this movie.
Okay, yeah.
It's weird.
But Jake, we're supposed to be defending.
Yeah, I know. It's a great movie if you can get past all its flaws.
So it's Shaw and her husband, is he Holloway?
Holloway, yeah.
Okay. Who gives an Oscar-worthy performance.
Oh, yes. Brilliant.
But
Absolutely brilliant.
They're in like a fucking cave and they find, it's basically a map to this planet.
That's where the issue comes in.
Okay.
So they find this map, these Neolithic fucking inscriptions on the wall, and it's this humanoid figure just kind of gesturing to a random constellation.
He's just literally pointing up to the sky. Like, oh, we know exactly where that is.
Man, look at these 6 stars, man. You should look closer at these 6 stars. But what I don't get, and this is kind of rooted fundamentally in the issue with the whole movie in terms of the logic, and this is where the issues with logic kind of start. So you have this figure pointing to a constellation, and like, what do you think they're getting at? And so they go and investigate the constellation. They get to this planet where they were supposed to go, and it's just all they find is a fucking pretty much a warship that was, I guess, hell-bent on our destruction. It was sent to kill us.
Also for leather.
So, yeah,
Hell-bent for leather.
Yeah, hell-bent for leather.
Yeah, that was weird.
But so why would they point us to a military installation on these drawings, like instead of their home planet? If they wanted to find us, or they wanted to have communication with us, or whatever, bridge that gap, why would they send us the coordinates to one of their military installations that was sent to kill us?
All right, well, that's the end of the podcast, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
What happened? In the first 10 minutes of this, 15 minutes of this movie, there's no logic in this.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we said there's flaws and everything. I think I just like
movie.
Going on the journey, but so it kind of jump cuts pretty quickly after they find that whole hieroglyph shit.
Yeah, then they're in.
But then what I think is cool, and I don't know if we'll get a differing opinion on this, is I like seeing the kind of the backstory, because when you watch the first Alien movie,
right,
the whole Weyland thing, it's like this evil corporation. It's great because you're just seeing like text and oh god, what's his name? That's not Bishop. That's the Aliens.
That's definitely Aliens.
Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank right now. What's his name? Fucking Bilbo Baggins. The hell's his character name? He's the android in it.
Yes, I know.
You know what I'm talking about. But he's feeding. Oh my god, I'm blowing it with a.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "What are you, a fucking Alien fan?
Well,
Piece of shit."
Hey. We're We're a couple beers deep at this point.
That's true.
So,
you have to forgive us.
Little patience.
Oh, by the way, real quick before we keep going, let's just say what we're drinking. Jake
I am drinking Guinness.
He's changing it up again. If you listen to the other podcast, he's changing it up. Actually, it's shocking. He's drinking Guinness
Again, yeah.
And I am drinking this is Corona Familiar.
Would you describe this as a familiar beer?
Not really. It's 32 fluid ounces. So it's 1 quart. And
La cerveza más fina.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell that means, right?
It sounded good. You could hear that there.
Excellent.
And we're drinking. We had a couple before this to loosen
pre-gamed.
up, so forgive us. But anyway, like Wayland, the corporation was cool and sinister in the first one, and they're like feeding
the thing about
information and shit. So it was interesting for me to finally see like the face of the corporation.
Right.
So they do. The crew that's about to go on this expedition with Shaw and Holloway and then all these other scientists or whatever, they see like this little hollow video of Peter Wayland, played by Guy Pearce, and I thought that was a cool little intro to that whole world. So.
Well, Guy Pearce, that's another kind of issue I had with this movie. I don't know why they cast a younger dude to play an old man. Like, when they could have just gotten an older, kind of a better actor, because he plays a shitty old guy. Like, there was nothing good about Guy Pearce's performance. Like, he's fine when he's just Guy Pearce and he's a young man or whatever, just being Guy Pearce. As soon as you put him in prosthetics and he's like a 90-year-old, it's just like, this is fucking...
Yeah, and I mean, I guess he doesn't have that much to work with. And
No.
I don't think he's a bad actor. I actually really like Guy Pearce.
I don't know. I'm not trying to shit on him completely. I just think he played a really crappy, believable old guy. Like, there was nothing believable about it. Like, you could have had, Max von Sydow, or something like that.
Cool too.
Just to play the older counterpart of, who Waylon is, and that would have been believable to me. He's fantastic. And then you could have had Guy Pearce be, whatever, and the younger flashback fucking aspect of it.
Right.
It's just interesting, and another interesting thing too is like, isn't Alien and Blade Runner kind of supposed to be in the same universe?
People have said that,
or continuity.
But the thing is, I say no to that.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's just nothing is connected, and they haven't said it definitively.
That makes
sense. They were just like, oh, that would be cool. It would make sense. If you're talking about like all the off-world colonies and replicants, but they don't call them replicants in the Alien universe.
No, do they really ever reference them as something specific in the Alien? Like, so obviously it's replicants and
they
Blade
say
Runner.
android, maybe?
I guess android, but you could still describe the replicants as androids in Blade Runner.
And famously, all the androids in like the Alien movies have like the milky, like black.
Which isn't the same?
I'm saying black goo because I'm fucking thinking of Prometheus.
Yeah.
The milky like texture whenever they get whenever
awesome.
shit goes down.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And you see like the weird internal
mechanisms.
Are like the little balls, and it's like a spine string type of thing.
Awesome.
You know what I'm talking about?
I love it.
And I like that, and I'm thinking of Blade Runner. I'm like, you never see that. Now, if they made a case where it's like something happened in Blade Runner,
but we're only
where one of the replicants died, and you could fucking see that it's like milky color, I'd be like, well, that's cool.
But
it's not though.
We only really ever get like a gunshot or something like that in Blade Runner. It's never something they're. Back to fucking Prometheus, like them ripping the fucking heads off of David, you know what I mean? Like ripping David's head off or whatever the fuck. And there's nothing extreme like that in Blade Runner. It's just kind of it's like a cop movie. It's kind of like a cop movie set in there.
Yeah, it's a fucking future noir. It's awesome.
But I could still kind of see it in the same sort of continuity. But if that was the case, that would make David the first replicant. But that doesn't make any sense because aren't the replicants made by Tyrell, and this guy was clearly made by Wayland.
And you got to think about the years that this movie takes place and the year that Alien takes place, and then think of Blade Runner's 2019. So you could say that was the early stages of this universe, but It just doesn't fit with me.
Yep. No. All right.
And it would be cool if it was true, but it's just not. It's just a separate thing.
It's really depressing.
So anyway, after the whole Wayland thing, you know, the nice little video introduction, he's kind of welcoming them all to their expedition.
Yeah.
Which is weird because at this point in time, they think he's dead.
Yeah. Well, deservedly so. You know, he was extremely decrepit. I mean, at that point.
Well, not in the video though. That's what I'm saying. He's younger.
Oh no,
in the video.
yeah, exactly. Imagine being that rich. It's like, like holy fuck.
So this is when it goes to the traditional alien
Formula,
opening,
like formula, basically.
Everybody on board coming out of cryosleep. But the difference between this and it's actually, dare I say, a little more entertaining this time because we have the introduction to David, Michael Fassbender's character.
Fantastic, as always. You know, he's dude, what a great performance in this movie. Just a good character. And I just kind of like where their head was at, you know, like all these people are sleeping. He doesn't seem like the android or whatever from Alien was, where that guy kind of seemed cold and calculated and just task oriented. Where this is the first time you saw an android, and it kind of had it kind of had the Bishop feel, where Bishop felt more human than obviously the previous incarnation. But I don't know. It was that next step. It felt closer to humanity to me, and it was cool to watch. Like watching Lawrence of Arabia, and, you know, just that whole thing, which is one of my favorite fucking movies, dude. Lawrence of Arabia is a great movie.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that he kind of modeled his look around that because
Absolutely.
You know, he's bored on this ship because he's not a human. He's up the whole time.
Absolutely. He has to find a way to consume every waking moment. And so it's like, does he appreciate that from a somewhat human? He's human in so many other ways. It's like, can he appreciate what it would be like for a human being to be up and try and occupy that much time? And for time to stay still at the same time. You don't age, you don't nothing. You're just constantly gathering information. Constantly, it's sensory information. You're filling it with obviously pop culture and history. He's learning languages, which is kind of crazy. And I guess the languages that are closest to what they're trying to research with the engineers and stuff like that. So I guess that's why at the end of it, when they're actually communicating with one another in that strange language, like he can communicate with them. That was, I don't know, it's kind of fucking crazy.
Yeah, you know what's cool about his character, and it's funny that the one character that isn't a human being kind of has the most character development as far as in the beginning. It sets up, there's a setup and payoff for all the shit that he's watching and taking in and reciting or whatever comes back when he's interacting with real people.
So do you
during
think
the whole film?
Do you think this is more of a movie about David rather than the human beings, as opposed to the reverse, what it was for Aliens?
I think in general it's about, which is funny because Blade Runner is very similar in this way. It's about meeting your maker. Like in Blade Runner, Roy Batty eventually meets Tyrell, and it's the same type of thing where it's like. Wayland wants to meet our maker, which is, you know, in this universe, the engineers.
Right.
So that's interesting, and I don't know if that's just something Ridley Scott's interested in.
Well, clearly.
To tell stories about in a sci-fi setting,
so
which is cool.
I don't know. I think it's probably, he has to be interested in it because he's done it a couple of times now, and he's still interested in it, even though he can't really get stuff off the ground right now with that property. Or I guess they're doing that show on FX, which nobody's probably going to watch.
I don't know about that, man. It's just, I just feel like, and maybe this is just, I don't know. I'm not in the fucking industry, so I have no clue what's going on.
I think it's that and a mixture of age with him. I think every old person gets to a certain point in their lives where they're like, man, where do we come from?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's just,
like,
it's just a cool question. It's like such a stoner question to ask.
So I think that's kind of where he was at too, because I think he was reading that Kurt Von Vonnegut book, Chariots of the Gods, and all that stuff. Like I think that was kind of an inspiration for the whole engineer mythos,
right? Which
is cool. You know, I'm all about it, but I don't know. It's obviously a bullshit fucking theory. I don't know. You can't really.
Interesting. I mean, interesting for like a book or a movie.
Well, yeah. So it's cool for a foundation of a movie, but like, there's no real reality to it. And especially they're like, you know what? I'm gonna take, the ancient alien theory, but we need Damon Lindelof. Bring in Damon Lindelof. You know, only he could fucking heighten this.
Well, that was the thing with the whole script, and if you have the Blu-ray, it has all the special features, which is actually great. This is like an old school DVD in that sense, where the special features are long.
Yeah, which I appreciate. I prefer. And I love behind the scenes.
The cool thing is, I think the guy's name is like John Spates or something, which he actually had a hand in writing the new Dune movie too.
Yeah, no, he's good. I think I read his script.
You read the original one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
It's good. It's very similar. It has a lot of similarities. There are just some blatant differences. Like I guess with Damon brought in when he did his rewrite, because he was just coming off of Lost, or he was still doing Lost, or whatever the fuck he was doing. That whole everything has to be a mystery, but nothing has any meaning, kind of a thing. That show fucking sucked. But he was, I don't know. He brought a degree of esotericism to it, which was interesting. Like he made it mysterious. He took something basic and tried to make it mysterious, even though there was no real payoff. I think he did the medical booth scene, where she's getting the cesarean section to get the parasite out of her abdominal cavity or whatever. I mean, which was cool. It was a cool scene.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
It was tense, and it was
But like, fuck all that.
I just feel like it, and I have no clue because I haven't read any scripts. I didn't read any rewrites or anything. So I feel like the John Spates stuff. Is probably most of the good ideas, and then some of the things that people maybe complain about maybe are Lindelof. I don't know.
To
Who knows?
me, it felt
I don't know for sure.
like it felt more like an alien movie, which I think maybe Ridley Scott was trying to get away from.
Right.
By the time actual production happened and stuff like that, because it went through a couple incarnations, like I think most things nowadays, but it went through a pretty severe incarnation every time. Everything was just kind of changed, and I think that comes down probably indecisiveness or whatever on Ridley Scott's part. It's only speculation. I have no fucking idea what these people are thinking. I just know, like, when you have a problem and you think that Damon Lindelof can solve your problem, boy, I'm gonna be at odds with you. But even that, it's still a good fucking movie. Like, there's something about it. It's the atmosphere of the movie. It's just something about it. Like, there's all this blatant. The first 45 minutes of this movie are fantastic, and then it slowly declines. But it makes it worth it every time you watch it, just because the opening is so badass. How they introduce the characters is cool, even if you don't like all the characters particularly or don't understand why they're there.
Well, yeah. So after the David intro, which is great, it kind of goes into, and honestly, it's not any different than the first two Alien movies.
Almost not at all.
And even it actually has a little bit of aliens in it, as far as like there's more crew members than the first one.
Right.
They're all like joking around. It's all like generic characters that you know. Even when you're meeting them, you're like, okay, this guy's gonna die. This guy's gonna die.
It felt
somebody's
80s.
Gonna do something stupid. It's like and that's like the old school. That's why I don't. That's why I don't really care as much. I've heard a lot of people criticize that, where some of the character deaths and the things that they do. They're supposed to be scientists. Why are they so stupid? I'm like, I don't know, because it's a movie and they need to do something stupid so we could see a cool scene of them getting killed.
And that's honestly, it's
in a horror movie way, like in a fucking Friday the 13th type way.
Yes, it is a fair rule.
Which is not like the most sophisticated thing, and I'm not trying to act like it is, but it's kind of fun to see.
Yeah, it's kind of the 1980s formula, just the slasher kind of typical horror suspense movie thing. I totally agree, and that's what I can justify it in my head. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything.
Because here's the thing. Sorry.
I don't want to feel smarter than the scientist I'm supposed to be watching in a movie.
I know, and that's why it's conflicting to think about that, but at the same time, if you want to see two guys going into this dark room in this fucking derelict spaceship,
right,
and they see a creature, and they go, you know what, we should probably just go back, and they go back to the thing, I'm like, wow, what a boring scene that is.
Yes, but you could, I mean, it's
like, you know what, that looks like it could kill us, we should probably go back to the ship. Okay,
true.
See you later.
But you could,
and then the credits roll.
But you could always take them at a situation where there is no choice. You know what I mean? Even if you're trying to get away,
right,
you still
and then
die.
And that's the funny thing when you're thinking about stuff like this. What you're saying is, yeah, but if the writer was more creative,
right.
They could have put them in a situation where it's like, no, they are smart and they don't want to be there,
right?
But they're trapped.
They're still dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it. I don't care how smart you are, you can't get yourself out of this. Whatever that situation might be. It's everything has those moments where sometimes you can't think your way out of a situation or react your way out of a situation.
Right.
And it's on the part of the writer. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the people portraying these characters, or they can only work with what they're given. But kind of ridiculous. The Mohawk Irishman, or whatever the hell he is, and then the fucking weird guy with the glasses, and that whole fucking weird bromance thing they have going on there.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. Let's back up just right before that, pretty much.
Right.
You know what I like about it? First of all, I'll say I really like the spacesuits that they all have.
Yeah.
They're modern looking, but at the same time, it's almost a little bit of
retro.
a callback to like a retro, 1950s sci-fi type thing, which I like.
Cool. It is,
and
cool.
I like that. It's a fine line between. It's a nod to that, but it's not as silly.
But he keeps doing that in the movie, so yeah, I think it's probably a nod to those 2000 Space Odyssey, the whole 1960s sci-fi thing, and he does that too with referencing fucking Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah,
it's another 60s movie. It's extremely fucking epic. It's a lot of callbacks with this movie. I mean, really, the movie's about an android, and he's with a bunch of humans. Those humans try and meet their maker, and nothing really happens again. It's just crazy. This is a movie where nothing happens. It ends up with them, fucking whatever. They're cruising towards the engineered planet there, but what happens before that's kind of strange. It's super weird how it's all set up. So you're introduced to these characters. They have the initial banter. They kind of have like that round table scene where it seems to be in every fucking alien movie ever. It's like
everybody eating and kind of getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, well, and it kind of brings you back to that character. You realize again that you're in an alien movie. So everything about the first half hour of this movie reminds you of what it was like watching fucking Alien or Aliens. It's like, fuck yes, this is familiar. I know where they're coming from. It doesn't matter what happens next. Fuck yes. And then everything kind of starts shifting as soon as they get to the planet. Like the whole tone of the movie shifts. Yeah,
okay, so perfect. This is exactly where I wanted to go. So what I like about this, and first of all, you got Idris Elba is like the pilot of the ship, which is called Prometheus. Yeah. Whatever, is the name of the movie.
No, Prometheus. It's a good reference too. It's like, well, what is that title trying to represent? So it's the whole story of Prometheus in a mythological sense is he brought illumination. He illuminated mankind. He brought fire to man, and gave them access to that secret, and he was punished for that. So it's, what is that trying to represent for this movie? It's interesting. That's deep.
I mean, that ties back to the beginning scene,
right? Right.
But yeah, so the thing I like about when they first get to the planet LV2, I forget what it is, whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about.
That one.
They go to the planet, and the thing I like about that is once they get into the atmosphere, I like that it's doesn't look real otherworldly, and that's not really what this whole franchise is about. But the cool thing is once they get to the destination, it's cool to see kind of like, you know, it's just regular terrain and some mountains or whatever, like just normal
conventional
shit. They're like, okay, we can fuck around with this,
right?
And then you see the, you know, it's kind of like a fucking tomb,
right?
Where it's this big skull, basically. And it's like, okay, this is not just a natural thing. Somebody had to create, and I like that. It's very ominous. What I like more about it is that fucking concept of that, you know, whatever, like that skull type of thing, and it's kind of like spherical. Is fucking, oh god, what's his name? Giger's, you know, because he did all the aliens. Giger, whatever, however you want to say it. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Well, we always disagree on how you pronounce things.
I mean, whatever. We know who we're talking about. He was fucking. Without him, the first Alien wouldn't have like that whole design work for the crafts and then all the alien, you know, the xenomorph stuff is all H.R. Giger.
Absolutely, he was seriously hands on.
The cool thing about this is they didn't just take his concepts for the Alien universe. This is from the fucking Jodorowsky's Dune.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this concept right here, this is what I loved seeing on screen.
Sure.
And it's so cool to watch it again. Like when you rewatch, you're like, this was supposed to be like on Gidi Prime. This was supposed to be like the Baron's fucking.
The Harkonnen.
The Harkonnen
base,
like
right?
base.
Yeah. Like That's
so that was
awesome.
cool to see.
Oh, absolutely.
It was cool that they were just like, you know what, this has never been used before. So.
A lot of stuff was carried over from Dune into the original Alien. And all that stuff, like fucking Dan O'Bannon, who wrote the fucking, he wrote the initial incarnation of Alien. I think it was rewritten by somebody else into it's what we understand or know as this movie.
I think it's so cool that all this stuff is connected. I mean, and it's all good stuff.
Mobius as well.
Mobius, he did a lot of concepts for the first Alien too. I mean, obviously, and the first Dune that never got made.
Oh yeah. Mythical fucking movie that is, but that created the late 1970s, what would become the next step in science fiction movies and science fiction cinema in general. Like it all really came from the failed production of Dune, and that's where you get Alien, and that's where all of this is coming from. So in some weird way, this is a weird offshoot of Jodorowsky's Dune.
I know, and you have a fucking auteur like Ridley Scott, and I think that's why I kind of have a soft spot for this. And I'm not saying that everything Ridley Scott does is amazing, because he is very hit and miss.
Right.
I hate to say it. Sorry if you're listening, Ridley. I love you. He's never gonna listen to this.
Yeah, right. Well, he probably I'm sure he does. I think he likes opinions about himself.
No, he'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, I'm sorry, sir.
He'd be totally entitled to that opinion.
But, no, I mean, the shit honestly, I think this falls right in the middle. It's not one of his great movies, but it's actually very rewatchable. If you're into sci-fi, it really is. Because there's enough cool shit to look at and enough cool ideas where you kind of forgive all the little
ridiculous stuff. No, I totally agree. It's definitely worth a watch. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely fucking watch it. But then again, if you haven't seen it, there's no reason why you're listening to a podcast about this movie 10 years after it was made. So they finally all go into this whatever it is. It's a big tomb, basically, like I said before. They don't know what it is. They're going to explore, and it's crazy that they all just willingly walk. I would never walk into it. Looks so scary. It is foreboding.
Yeah.
Like, it's sinister. There's something about it. Like, it's obviously been there long enough where it feels like it's become part of the planet itself. And then obviously they get a little closer and they realize they can walk in. It's crazy. I think it was supposed to have that horseshoe looking, that look to it. Obviously, like the first Alien movie, but if you turn it on its side, I think it was supposed to be driven like that or whatever, flown like that, so it looks more like a chariot. So that's kind of a reference to like the Chariot of the Gods.
Yeah, that's
thing.
cool. I like all those little references and stuff. But yeah, so I would have been that crew member where once I see that shit, I'd be like, I'm gonna just, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not gonna fucking go in there. Something in there is gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is really cool.
But imagine that crew being your representation as humanity on a planet like that. It's like, well, thank God Idris Elba's driving. I feel comfortable with Idris Elba behind the wheel.
I mean, I feel comfortable with that. I don't know about an Irish guy with a mohawk going in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have Charlize Theron, running shit. She's like Captain OG.
She's like the uptight one. Yeah.
And she's super hot. Charlize Theron. You can't go wrong.
So anyway, they go in, and this is really cool because then this is when it starts looking familiar to the alien world.
Right, yeah.
You see the kind of Giger aesthetic.
The biomechanical.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And I remember being in the theater like, I have no idea what they're going to encounter because this is a prequel to Alien. Like, some shit's going down. Like, I don't know.
So you have some idea because you saw the engineers in the first couple of minutes of the movie, so you're like, okay, these are. What was crazy to me,
I just didn't know what else was in there. That's all.
So,
you know what I mean?
Other than the philosophical implications, I think of what they were trying to go for the beginning of the movie, it was cool to see. Like, that was our first real reveal of what was behind the elephantine, the space jockey. Thing in the original Alien movie, like the thing in the chair, you know what I mean? It kind of had like an elephant trunk looking space helmet, and it kind of looks like the Sandman's.
Yeah, right. That is very similar.
It's kind of crazy. So that was cool. That was like a real alien mythos kind of reveal. It's like, okay, this is what's going on beneath it, but you don't realize that's what's happening until they find the command center. When they're exploring the ship, when they finally, they get past all the bullshit with the Mohawk Irishman and the gay glasses scientist guy.
Were they gay?
I don't know. They have a weird bromance going on, and there's something going on with that relationship. It's kind of weird. But other than that, that was super basic. You could tell they were kind of created as characters to be killed off, like you were talking about. You know, very 80s, formulaic kind of typical bullshit. And everything kind of opens up for me. It becomes cool again when they finally find the command center, like how the ship is controlled, that part of the ship, and he has to, whatever, they find the little panel or whatever, he does some bullshit, and they find like where the space jockey would be, and that was a cool scene. Then them finding the head and bringing the head back to the ship and kind of pumping it full of fucking chemicals and shit, and coming back to life.
Yeah, that was cool that you could see like it. It was like the footage on the ship. You could, but it's in real time, or you know what I mean? Like the hollow things are moving next to them.
Holographic.
That would freak me the fuck out.
Fucking like the security,
right.
Like a replay
it's like
of the security tape or whatever. Like that was cool as fuck.
And that was cool, and also the technology they have when they went in, where they like bring up those like orb things and they fly around the whole ship. That was really cool.
That was cool too, like the mapping and all that shit. Yeah. No, I was into it. I questioned the logic, although as cool as it looked. What is the logic behind their security system being played back like that to them? Like, imagine being a detective in the engineers world and you had to look into surveillance.
The engineers?
You have to run around the ship to see what happened.
They're like, the humans can't find out what we've done here. And then the one engineer that came up with that technology to show them every fucking thing that was going on. And, like...
it's, like, ridiculous.
He's like, oh,
why?
Ah, shit.
It's like, it's not easier to just look at a screen and see what the fuck happened. You have to literally run around the ship to... but it was cool. It was aesthetically really cool to see that, even though that is kind of archaic looking. I don't know. It was strange, cool. But then I like the whole. Again, watch this movie. It's a masterpiece.
Not making a good case here sometimes.
That's right. Talk shit about it. It's all good. But I don't know. It's super strange. It's as soon as they get in there, it has that. So in the original Alien, when they finally got to, I guess what was considered the command center or wherever the hell they were, it felt decayed, and it's been there for a really long time. This was obviously it's only a shell of kind of what it used to be or the function it used to serve. Where this one obviously was functional to a certain degree. So that was a drastic difference, and that was an interesting aspect of the film as well, or at least compared to the original. Just dragging that over. And I guess this is a prequel.
Well, definitely,
yeah.
Even it's a prequel in the sense that it takes place years and years before the original Alien, but it's also setting up the origin of. Well, I guess in a way, kind of, and. I think they were getting to it, so it was supposed to be like the origin of the xenomorph, derives from this black goo that is like the whole basis of when this movie starts. Everything starts, the shit starts hitting the fan.
Yeah.
It's all this black goo. So like, the black fucking goo is all in these little containers that they find in the in the derelict ship,
whatever the hell they are,
and some of it gets out, goes into the water in the ship or whatever, and there's a little worm. It gets into the worm. That's what causes that worm to become this creature that kills those two
In
guys.
the original script, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but after he disintegrates into the water and that carries it downstream, there's some like indigenous woman or some indigenous person drinking from that, and that's how it spreads. And so as she gets infected, he dissolves into the water that carries the pathogen or the parrot, whatever the hell that is, down, and it's ingested, and then that's how it's spread through already pre-existing form of life.
Oh, really? Wait,
I think
did
so.
you say that was
in the original script?
Oh, okay. I'm like,
I'm pretty sure that was the basis of that idea. So I don't entirely know what the hell is going on with that original screen. There's not enough information. It's just enough information to be like, okay, there's something mysterious going on, but you don't really know what's the goal here.
right.
What is really happening. That doesn't seem like a scene how they would create humanity to me.
Right. And there's also an interesting aspect of this movie where the lead character, Shaw, Noomi Rapace,
Beautiful.
she has they kind of talk about her faith in the movie, which is funny, and I think somebody even says something about it. It's like, well, doesn't that all go out the window now because we know that these people could have potentially created us?
Right. Well,
so that was kind of
that
an interesting thing.
Absolutely. And again, everything kind of comes to a head. Like, as soon as that introduction, or, them finding the command center, them kind of gaining access somehow to whatever, their systems through David, because, he's fucking Michael Fassbender, and apparently he can do anything in movies.
He's a sneaky little fucker in this movie.
He's a total piece of shit.
Really well played, though.
Definitely. Like, you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's like finally, I think in the next movie with Alien Covenant, they finally have the David that you actually want to like as a person. It's like, okay, you're actually not a piece of shit. And, well, whatever.
That sounds like a good idea, but then when you actually see the movie, you're like, fuck.
They did not deliver on the Prometheus sequel like they should have, and we got boned, kind of.
God.
It felt more like an Alien... a terrible Alien movie as opposed to a good Prometheus sequel.
Yeah, not good. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later.
But no, so when they found that, it was cool, and then there's finally when they bring Waylon over.
Well, yeah, we're getting that. So all right. So I guess that's the first interaction with it. They plant the seeds with that black goo that it gets into that worm. and then that worm evolves into this creature. Those two idiots want to really get real close to that fucking thing. The thing kills him. It's a gruesome scene. It's a cool scene. Whatever.
It's okay. They're limo drivers.
Yeah. And that's when everything breaks loose. That's when David he's starting to realize that, okay, this shit can really fuck up, like, everything. So, him being the fucking psychotic android that he is, he decides to take a little sample of it. And what he does is, they get back to the ship, and Holloway's kind of, like, depressed because, their first outing wasn't, like, as much of a success as he thought it was.
Man, I saw these cave drawings. I expected a whole hell of a lot more.
Right. So then David, like a fucking dickhead, slips it right in his drink.
Yeah.
And he drinks it, and then, I mean, how could you know that he was going to go home? Actually, you know what? This is so unrealistic because he would have went back to his bed that night, or their quarters or whatever. Numi Rapace would have been fucking asleep.
Right.
It was probably, I don't know what time it is on that planet. It's probably like 3 a.m.
You had to guess.
He's like, baby, you like, I'm horny. What's up?
Yeah. Just starts poking her with it.
Yeah. There's no way they would have had sex at that time. Just looking at the time period, because I've had those times. You're at the pool table with your friend. It's fucking 3 a.m. You're shit-faced.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm going back upstairs to my wife, she's going to be like, no, fuck off.
Right? No, like, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening tonight. No. Maybe tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the next morning. I don't know. But it was inferred that it was that night.
Honestly, the whole sense of time in this movie is kind of discombobulated and strange. Like it's a sequence of events more like than like the first 48 or something like that. You're not really getting a play-by-play. It's just everything's kind of cut together. It feels really fast. It's a whole lot. It's dense though. There's like a lot going on with this movie, and you could tell it could have been like a whole lot longer movie if they wanted it to be. Like a lot was cut out of this movie, I think.
Probably,
a whole lot.
There's probably like 800 different ideas about what to do with this, but
yeah.
So anyway, this is when shit starts getting like really weird because then he wakes up in the morning, he's looking at his fucking eye in the mirror, and there's obviously something wrong.
Right.
He starts bugging out. This is when like, you gotta do it into the. That's a Guinness right there. Oh my goodness. So anyway,
so he sees that shit in his eye. Yeah. It is weird. It's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool though because it's more of a slow burn compared to like how when he was finally infected in like the first Alien movie. Like that seemed like it was super quick and there was not enough time to go.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that because. In that, it was like he had the face hugger. It's like he's in a coma.
Yeah, it's super quick.
And this one, it's like a virus, so it's in you. You don't know it yet.
It's like Hitchcock with the bomb under the chair. You know what I mean? Like the ticking clock thing. It's kind of Hitchcockian.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. I mean, I'm about that, especially that character. It's like you want him to die as fast as possible. Like holy. So hell.
He eats shit. And that's when all hell starts breaking loose. And, I don't know. So, I mean, where do you think... And what's your feelings on the movie at this point in time? So, like, when this all happens, he
Well, all right, so, again, it reminds you of what's awesome about this. The performance is pretty bad. So it reminds you you're watching Prometheus, but at the same time, it's following the formula enough where you appreciate that this is still an alien movie. So it's a movie of conflict for me because I love it. It's a really good movie. It's rewatchable too. It's like it's surprisingly rewatchable.
It is. I think so at least. I'm sure there are a bunch of people that don't think so, but
I would agree with them too.
Maybe it's because like it looks so fucking. It's just fun to look at.
It is. It's
you have like 5 beers and you're just like hypnotized by it.
It's incredible. Look at this. Like it's.
Oh yeah, Jake has it on in the background right now, muted. So we're like watching it as we're talking.
It is an incredible Visually, it's an incredible film.
Looks like shit.
Oh yeah.
No.
But it's just the story that kind of makes it. It kind of ruins it, and it ruins it for a lot of people. And I totally understand why. It's just like why are they doing any of this? Why are they doing any of this? Like, this dude really thought because a couple of schmo scientists found some Neolithic cave drawings of a stick figure pointing at a random constellation that he was going to finance a bunch of scientists.
Well, the guy in the drawing was like, it's right over there. Let's just go over
go find what? The eternal life? He's so old that now he's trying to make himself immortal, because I think that's what most rich people probably want of themselves. They just want to live forever.
It's the same thing with Roy Batty. Remember, he's like, I need more life.
Right. It's like the fucking, it's like Burns from Simpsons. You know, you know, like, it's literally that character.
Mr.
Burns.
Right there.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the evolution of what happens with the black goo creating all this fucking crazy shit. So it starts out small, and you know, that's the line from David. You know, big things have small beginnings. So it starts out literally with a little fucking worm,
right?
And then it slowly turns into other shit, which is so then obviously Shaw is pregnant.
Yeah.
At the time. With this fucking black goo baby, which turns into, you know, there's a literally, which is, I think is kind of cool. It's like there's a monster in your fucking belly, and you gotta get a C-section to get that thing out of there.
It's a fucking parasite, you know, and that parasite just it has to kill you to fucking, I don't know, come into existence or whatever the fuck. It comes to life at the expense of your death.
Yeah. And then I guess we have to go back to Charlize Theron is kind of the captain of the ship. I guess
she's definitely the captain. She looks the toughest.
She's running the show.
Definitely.
And what we find out later is she is actually Peter Whalen's daughter, right?
I think so.
Daughter.
Or so probably something along those lines. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's his daughter, and then we find out that he's still alive too. And he's got fucking Frito toes.
Oh my god! What a horrible! It's like such a typical. As a young man, what do I think what being an old person is like performance? Oh yes, sir, boy.
Hey, what?
You're fucking like what? What the fuck am I seeing right now? It's like, dude, you get paid an inordinate amount of money to entertain me. And you're just being ridiculous right now. What is happening?
Yeah, so that's a whole other side thing, and that's like one of the, you know, quote unquote surprises of the movie.
Yeah, the surprises nobody really was thinking about or was expecting. It's just like, oh, look at this twist. It's like, well, we weren't thinking about Whalen right now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But it's cool. But I don't understand what he was trying to accomplish other than immortality. You think, like, so if you're trying to meet your creators, where do we come from? What do you expect from that encounter, that first encounter? And would your first, you know, I guess instinct be to, I'm gonna be immortal. Okay, they're gonna grant me immortality.
Yeah, how the fuck do you know that? You're gonna come all this way? What are they gonna be like? Oh yeah, actually, yeah, we have the answer to that.
Right.
We'll show you how to live forever. What the fuck? I guess he thought they had better technology than we do.
Yeah.
You know, in our society.
I don't know what was the real goal other than that. You know, is it first contact? Because they accomplished that, but I don't.
Right.
By the response to that first contact, and especially the first exchange within a couple of minutes, it's all building up to this conversation that they have when they finally awaken the engineer or whatever. You know, that one comes. He's super pissed off, by the way.
Yeah, he's fucking pissed, man.
Dude, holy fuck. But imagine that person. You wake up your creator from a deep sleep, and his first instinct is agitation and almost rage just by you even trying to talk to him right now. What does that tell you about that encounter? Like, that's crazy.
Well, the engineers are all fucking dickheads.
I don't know. Maybe
they literally look like dickheads.
I think the mythos was like, if I read into it a little bit, like it was kind of based off of the whole like Jesus thing. Like they sent the Son of God, so they sent this amalgamation of an engineer and maybe what a human might be or something like that they sent them to Earth to try and show humans like this is the way how you should live your life. This is, this is the holy path, whatever. Like this, whatever. This is the morally right thing to fucking do. And then we crucified him and did all that. And well, that was their declaration of like, well, we sent this, olive branch. We tried to make peace. We tried to show them the way. They declined us, so now we have to wipe them out. And so that's the biblical idea of the apocalypse. Okay. And so this was the plague that it was foretold or whatever the fuck. So there is that contrast. That's why he's named David. It's all very biblical fucking bullshit.
Right. Okay, so things start getting interesting when Peter Whalen is getting suited up, to go in there to meet his maker, to meet one of the engineers.
As only a Henry Ford fucking Elon Musk motherfucking super rich person could, just being dressed, by somebody, like 2 or 3 people at a time.
I get dressed by my wife dresses me every morning. I just stand there and
that's probably true. You have no choice.
So
my cousin, she drives a hard bargain.
Oh yeah, people know from our lore
Iron Fist.
You're her cousin. So we go in there with their crew. So it's David and Peter Wayland. Is there anyone else with them? I don't think so.
During the encounter with the engineer?
Oh, and Shaw. Oh my god, Shaw.
Yeah, no, Shaw is definitely.
Because she's like, I'm seeing this through. Like, I've been through all this shit. I just got a fucking C-section with this crazy creature.
Which is fucking awesome. She's sitting there. Obviously, the cesarean happens. They cut open her, or the machine cuts open her abdominal cavity. And then she fucking rips off the umbilical cord. And it staples it shut. But all the fucking, like... whatever it is, placenta or whatever the hell that secretions were that came out of the parasite itself when it came out of the cavity and it sprouted into the actual form of the parasite, all spilled back into her abdominal cavity right before it was stapled back. Fucking, like, that's nasty as fuck.
Yeah, and rewatching this, I was like, this is exactly what it was like when my wife gave birth last August.
Yeah.
It was shot for shot. It was like exactly what happened.
Luckily, I've not gone through that experience. Oh my god.
So they go in there and David does his little fucking weird, I'm going to play a little flute sound and wake up everyone. He wakes up the engineer. The engineer is like, that's like when you wake me up an hour earlier than I'm supposed to wake up. It's basically what happens.
He's
just fucking pissed off. Yeah.
Like super aggravated, and I that would freak me out though.
First thing he does is just rip David's fucking head right off.
Yeah. So you poke a sleeping dog. You talk to your creator for what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Everything's kind of building up to this encounter. Yeah,
Shaw kind of blows it because this fucker's already aggravated when he wakes up. He's like, God damn it, what is going on? And she's like, I want to know why. Right. Why are you doing this? And Peter Williams like, fucking shut up. I'm trying to like ask him. I think if she wasn't there, they could have got some shit done.
Really?
No.
I agree.
I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, holy shit.
But she does make it worse, honestly.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But to be fair, Whalen doesn't make it any better. David's not making it better. He has his own thing going on.
The whole thing is like, what is the fucking point that we just watched all of this, and he finally gets there, and the dude rips David's head off and then kills him immediately.
Immediately. He rips off the android's head and then beats Wayland to death with it. So he takes its own creation. He takes the creation of his creation and beats his creation to death with it. That's extremely convoluted.
Well, that's like that old saying, or what people say, like, I'll beat you with him. Like right. If you're with a friend or something, like, this guy's so pissed off. He's like, I'm bigger than both of you. I'll take you and beat the shit out of you with your other friend. And the engineer actually does it. He's actually a fucking baller.
He beat a motherfucker with a motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Good for him. So anyway, he is on his own mission, which is like, okay, I fucking got rid of these retards that came in here looking for some sort of answer but that brings it all back into why the fuck did they go to Earth and go, look, we're over here. Right. Just don't say anything about it.
Right.
Create the life, and if you're not cool with it, then be like, all right, we're not going to tell them, but in a couple thousand years or whatever, whatever.
Right. I know.
Years and years later, if we're not happy with this, we're going to go fucking exterminate them. So why would you put a map so that a bunch of idiots would come?
It's a military installation. It's like, was that a crash site? And that couldn't have been a crash site because then there wouldn't be coordinates in this Neolithic map that would sit where they would find them like this.
Right.
So it has to be some established thing for the engineers, or we wouldn't have had access to that information. They couldn't have crashed there. So it has to be a military installation. There's no other signs of civilization. It's a barren, isolated planet. And it happens to be habitable. You can habitate it.
Right. Well, yeah, because when they went into the ship, remember, Holloway takes his helmet off,
right?
Because he's a loose cannon.
He's definitely
such a loose cannon. We can breathe in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but I know what you're saying.
So that means probably engineers can live under they live under the similar circumstances that we do physiologically, if we were modeled off of them in the first place. So it's like, so were we modified by these engineers, or were we created by these engineers? So they don't really draw a distinction by that, and so we have that. So, but that's kind of what they're implying by having the android and all that stuff too. So I think there's that resemblance. They're very humanoid, but I don't understand what the goal was with with the art and the constellation. Like, why would they give us coordinates to a military installation? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, when you really think about it, it doesn't. It's like, for the benefit of the movie, we're gonna have them come explore this so that bad shit could happen.
But it was framed as in, this is where you come from. This is the figure is pointing towards your creation. Like it's deific. I don't know. It's framed like that.
I think that's maybe because it was written like different drafts by two different people.
Maybe.
That didn't want the same end goal.
No, but
didn't have the same goal.
The only person whose real mind, other than the studio, who had an opinion on it where that mattered, was Ridley Scott. So for Ridley Scott, really could have did whatever he wanted. So in his mind, he justified it in a weird way, and he gets paid a whole lot of money, and he thought about it a whole lot deeper than I am, just sitting here having beers, bullshit about a movie I enjoy. So it's like, dude, really, what was the logic behind a whole lot of this? Like, and that doesn't make it. I can't justify that, but it's just not really thought out. But at the same time, how everything is presented, it's presented in a compelling fucking way. Even though I find a lot of plot holes and just a lot of inconsistencies in general.
Yeah, and I think that really comes down to the ideas were good and the execution wasn't great.
Right,
it was just good,
which is weird because visually it's beautiful. But what is happening is ridiculous.
Fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Like, I really think, and you could say what you want. I think he's very prolific.
Extremely.
And he's one of the the great directors.
Definitely.
That is more prolific than, let's say, like a Scorsese or something like that. Where Scorsese or Tarantino or whatever, like all the like the top guys.
Yeah, the classics.
Most of them kind of wait till they have a project that they're really passionate about. And I feel like Ridley Scott does that as well. But at the same time, he also is of the mindset of, okay, yeah, I'll do that too on the side. Like, when I have free time, like, he'll just go for it. Which is cool too, but then it's like, you got to think of your legacy, like what you're...
So, there's a couple of directors that bother me, and exactly what you're talking about. So, I guess an example would be... At least he tries. Well, Ridley Scott. At least he tries when he's trying to deliver a movie like this. He understood, I think, when he was making this movie, how important it was, because it was that prequel to one of his classics that he really you could tell he really enjoys his canonical movies, those initial movies he made. There's something
and he
really
should, man, because
very
it's
passionate,
fucking awesome.
Or you wouldn't get a recut every 7 years out of him. But I don't know. It was cool. A good example of somebody who's been inconsistent that really depresses me is like Sam Raimi. So like Sam Raimi, it's exactly the same type of thing as Ridley Scott or Tarantino. He had these classic movies at the beginning, the Evil Dead movies, and then fucking just drops right off it. Now he's making, the Wizard of Oz movie that's horrible.
Yeah, I think it's because he was both things. He had his own ideas and he did some stuff, but he also at the same time was like a work for hire director.
Yeah, definitely. But he was so innovative early in his career.
And that's why it's weird, because you want to see him doing that constantly, but he's also like, I'll say yes to this script and I'll do this work. It's also a job, too.
Well, exactly. So. And I think it's turned into more
It's
of a
hard
job.
for fans like us to think of it that way, but it is sometimes.
And you could, I guess with Ridley Scott, it's kind of similar in a way. You could tell this dude did a lot of commercials before he got into making movies. Mm-hmm. Just because of the types of movies
absolutely.
he makes, how often he tends to make movies. He's getting older now, so it's going to slow down.
Yeah.
We're not going to get as many from him, I don't think, because he's got to be in his 80s. He's definitely an older dude. But
right.
I don't know. There's a lot. It's very inconsistent.
Yeah, and but I don't think this is, by far, I don't think this is one of his worst films.
It's fantastic. I watch it all the time.
So this whole thing with, now that Waylon's fucking dead, he just gets smacked around like a rag doll.
Literally, I love that.
And so then this
unique
engineer,
decapitation.
Engineer that has been woken up, now is on a mission, to complete his mission. But it's cool because that it goes into the Shaw storyline or whatever, her plot in this, and that's awesome because when he goes back to the ship, it crosses over with the weird fucking creature that she gave birth to, similar to the alien xenomorph, when it's a little baby and then a couple hours later it's a fully formed fucking,
parasite.
Functional, same thing with this, and it's this big octopus creature,
very
basically.
Lovecraftian, extremely.
and it's cool because she's got she gets the axe, she's ready to fucking throw down. The engineer's coming after her.
The engineer was I brought you into this world, I'm gonna take you out of this world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is the thing that this fucking demon that she gave birth to, ends up kind of saving her life, because
in a weird way, definitely did.
Gets a hold of that engineer, and this is the cool metamorphosis.
It turns into the deacon. But at the end of the movie,
which by the way, I have an action figure.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Dude, by the way, I didn't say any of this. I have, I think, most of the Prometheus NECA figures. There's a company called NECA.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Fuck yeah!
I'm sure all 30 people listening to this will know about NECA. They have a really cool toy company. And I have everything. I have all the engineers and all the fucking dude. I can't wait to set up.
You actually had.
My wife's gonna divorce me though when I set up a display case.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah,
I wish I had the foresight to buy the figures and the statues.
Well, I don't have Shaw, and I don't have.
Surprise.
They actually made a figure. They didn't make a character.
But he was the best character in the entire movie. Clearly the best performance.
No, they didn't make it. But I think the only two I don't have is Shaw, and then they actually it's actually the coolest one. I'm pissed that I don't have it. It's the fucking redheaded guy when he mutates.
Oh, okay. I heard that was actually a lot different. It was actually more alien-like.
I'm gonna have to look on fucking eBay for both of those. It's gonna make $60 each, and I'm like, babe, could I buy this?
Please.
She's like, why are you asking me? Just fucking do it and don't tell me about it and hide it.
Yeah, really. What you don't know won't hurt.
Holy shit. But yeah, so anyway, the cool thing is the evolution of, you know, what all this fucking black goo that these idiots created.
Right.
The way it evolves throughout the movie, I think, is really cool. And then finally, that thing kind of throws his, like, whatever it is, that it goes down his throat, you know, kind of like a face hugger type deal.
Absolutely.
And then that gives birth to the Deacon, which I guess is supposed to be kind of like the prototype for the alien, like for the Xenomorph.
Yes, I think fundamentally it was very similar. Like the whole Deacon character, it was definitely pretty cool. But that whole thing, what it culminates, I think that was like the last scene before like it cuts to credits and all that shit. Is we finally get the Deacon, we get the next evolution. So that's also another kind of a through line with the whole thing is about evolution and where we come from. It starts with kind of a strange, rudimentary, esoteric introduction of our creators in and of themselves, and then it's us kind of discovering the basic framework and like a map to the ultimate destination, and then as soon as they get there, they get infected by, I guess, whatever this bioweapon that the engineers were going to use to exterminate us, finally drop the bombs on us, or whatever the case. It might have been some cosmic Nagasaki or Hiroshima or whatever the hell they had in mind. Fucking, we're basically dealing with the engineer Oppenheimers or whatever the fuck. But as soon as they get infected, it's this this idea of evolution. It's just this a constant escalation. You know, like a bunch of them get infected, so we're seeing it from a bunch of different kind of circumstances as well. So that's another thing that's been interesting about the recent Alien movies, like how people get infected. They're trying to get more creative about that, and this is the first time that they really tried to get creative about how people are getting infected, which was kind of cool compared to the other ones. It was all face huggers and very 1980s, and they just followed that formula because it worked. This was the first time where they were like, well, we're going to pour it into a drink and see how that manifests in a person, just for shits and giggles on David's part.
Yeah, and it's cool that this whatever material it is, like, reacts to whatever.
It's strange, right? It's just
weird. It reacts to things in different ways. But so that's cool at the end with the Deacon. It gives birth to this little creature. You're like, oh shit, okay, so what is this type of, like, this is like the prototype for the alien, whatever. But then what was really interesting to me watching the end of this movie is Shaw, you know, kind of being the last survivor of this whole crew, finds David's head, and he's obviously still like functional. Like, she just has to kind of like put them together a little bit. She has his head going, and she kind of knows that he was behind a lot of this shit, but at the same time, they're the only two still, you know, functioning after all this shit. And that set up such a cool sequel idea for me, where she's like, I'm not stopping now. Like, I've come this far. Right. Now I'm going to go and find out what the fuck is really going on. Let's go to the home world.
Exactly.
And he's like, well, I guess I have no choice. And he's such a cool character, and it would have been such a fun... That would have been such a fucking cool movie, the two of them. You could have the first half of them just in a spaceship together. Mm-hmm. And it would have been like a little, like, play. Yeah. And
absolutely.
And then the next half of it would have been, I don't know what you actually do with it, but them going to the planet and like...
No, so what you do, they set it up for this. It's like basically, or what I would do is, so she's rebuilt, they set the coordinates, they're on the way to the engineer homeworld, the creator's homeworld, and he's walking her through the process of rebuilding him. And by the time she gets to a certain point, and she'll realize she's gone too far, what his actual motives are, but she's already gone that far, and so now he can take control to a certain degree, and it turns into more of a suspense thing, and she ends up dying. She becomes an experiment. Now she's back on the table, and instead of reconstructing, he's dissecting, and he's trying to make it work to accommodate his experiments with the black goo and all that bullshit.
Yeah, but that's what he did in Alien Covenant, and
Sort
it
of,
was
yeah.
so disappointing.
But they didn't show that though. Like it felt more like a shitty Alien movie.
I don't
and
think
not a
any of that
Prometheus
should have
sequel.
happened.
No, it shouldn't.
I think she should have kept him on a leash. You know, like, I'm not going to give you back a full body at all.
No.
It was stupid that that flashback it was such a disappointment.
It was disappointing. That whole movie was disappointing.
Dude, you could have fucking opened up with them because they took the ship.
Yeah.
They're going to the home world or whatever. You could have had some great scenes early on of the two of them.
Definitely.
You know, two really good actors.
Sure.
Fucking shooting the shit. Then you get there. I don't know what you really like. I'm not a writer, you know, so I don't know like how you would structure this. But what a great idea for a sequel. And then the thing that sucks is I feel like the studio or whatever was probably like, you know, some people were a little annoyed that there wasn't, you know, an alien in the movie. So can we just... So they just kind of fast forward to, oh, okay, we're going to put some fucking aliens in this. And it's like, that's fine, but it wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't good. It was like they made the first movie. So if you're doing a prequel trilogy to the Alien universe, it was like they made part 1 and then part 3.
Right. Exactly.
They didn't make part 2.
Exactly. It went from 2 to 10.
Yeah, it was like, guys. And then the only thing I was interested in was where's Shaw and where's David. And then even that was really disappointing. Like, oh, really? That was it?
Right,
that was it?
Kind of. So we got like a really shitty New Hope. You know what I mean? Which is like, it's okay. It's shitty, but it's a New Hope. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm good with it. And then we got Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just like, it's so disappointing because honestly, with whatever flaws this movie had, it had so much potential for a sequel, like to set up the whole Alien franchise, because it really was like it had a good trajectory going.
Definitely,
and it set up some cool things, and it actually has a strong ending where it ends up with just Shaw and just David, who are the two best characters in the movie.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, these two are still alive, or, you know.
Well, unfortunately, Holloway died before that.
Oh, boy.
Horrible. Fucking horrible.
So it's just such a shame because they had something kind of good going, and they could have done a sequel that would have been even better than this movie.
Oh, for sure.
And they just, you know, so that's how it works in the business. I guess they were like, they had notes from 800 different people, like, can we put a xenomorph in there? Can we get Danny McBride in there for humor, for a comedic relief?
So
it's like, oh, God.
I agree. Definitely there's that problem. And it's a Ridley Scott movie, so it's going to be more, I think, bound to that problem. He can maybe do really whatever he wants, but obviously he accommodates the studio enough where he can keep making movies the way he does, and he's as prolific as he is. So, like, the first 40 minutes of this movie is like a science fiction cinematic masterpiece, sort of. You know, like
you can't say that and then say sort of.
Like it's not. It's great. Like there's flaws from the beginning narratively. Like the plot is all over the place, but what you're seeing is awesome. Like it's typical Ridley Scott. It's cinematic as fuck. It's fantastic. Like there's literally the whole fucking. He sets everything up fucking amazingly, and I guess that comes from almost being there.
I mean, you just put on the opening again. Like we're literally watching the opening again. I think this is all real, dude. I think this is real, and it's fucking looks so sick.
How everything is presented. I don't know what he's going for. He's like, is this the planet we're seeing when they find the derelict spacecraft, or is this some random planet?
No, this is Earth. This is supposed to be Earth.
This is supposed to be Earth?
I'm pretty sure, dude. This is supposed to be Earth, and they...
It has to be New Zealand.
Are we starting this podcast over?
I guess we're starting it over.
We're going to go another 4 hours.
Oh, my God.
Everybody strap in. Let's go. But, dude, this... I don't think... I'd be surprised. I don't think there are any visual effects in this part. I think it's just like they're doing like sick landscapes. This is like Planet Earth shit.
Like, but where the fuck would you find landscapes like that? Like, there's no fuck. Don't get me wrong.
You go to anywhere besides America.
I mean, no, America's actually beautiful.
I mean,
believe it or not, like
I think the only visual effect is like you see the shadow of the spacecraft.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's super wacky, man. It's
waterfall
extremely just visually, it's a beautiful movie the entire time. But what's going on can get ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway, final thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about this movie, Jake?
I think it's a fucking masterpiece, and it's probably one of the best movies ever made ever.
Sort of.
It's only kind of, but no, it's definitely worth the watch, man. Like, just
definitely, especially if you're an Alien fan, and I know. I mean, that's the crazy thing is a lot of Alien fans, I think, like hardcore guys, think this is dumb.
Yeah.
And I think even, I don't know this for sure. I'm just going from memory. I think Dan O'Bannon even was like, it's fucking retarded.
Really?
And, yeah. And you know what? Who am I to argue with him?
Can't argue with Dan O'Bannon. Very underrated.
The man wrote Alien. It's like in Chappelle's show.
He wrote a lot.
He wrote Thriller.
He wrote Thriller. No, like, he very underrated. Like, Dan O'Bannon, even though most of the time they didn't really use what he wrote, they always use the basis of what he writes.
Long Tomorrow, bro.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that was a great collaboration. Him and Mobius, like, fucking awesome.
Fuck.
But literally, you could put any jackass with Mobius, and it's gonna look fantastic. But like, he really delivered because
you can get me writing for, like a script,
like,
and literally be like, "This is nonsense," but I will turn this into beautiful art.
It will be. He came from like the blueberry, fucking European idea of westerns and shit like that. Like really like John Wayne kind of westerns, but. Look at the direct contrast with that and what he contributed to like science fiction and what he brought to that, like just aesthetically, and how that carries over into a movie like this. So it's like perfectly, it's like this contrast between like the biomechanical horror of H.R. Geiger and this futuristic kind of, I don't know, kind of hard to describe. There was nothing foreboding or unconventional kind of about Mobius. Like everything was kind of simple, right. But it was so perfect in its simplicity where it made it striking, like very visually striking. It really reminds you of a Western or something like that. Very simple, but there's something fantastic about it.
Well, he has so much to do with a lot of the stuff we're talking about, a lot of the science fiction movies, because that whole aesthetic, all of his concepts, his design work, that shit all bleeds into this stuff.
Oh my god. Like, absolutely.
And that's why, dude, honestly, that stuff is so strong that when it bleeds into a movie like this that isn't necessarily, the greatest work of cinema of all time, as far as writing and, there's some flaws and stuff, it still enhances it that much. Where you're like,
well, I think if I had final thoughts about it and why it would make it, or why it's worth visiting or revisiting, it's because of some of the ideas in this movie that only came out 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever the hell it was. When they were finally put into production, those were ideas that came up with 30 years, 40 years before they were even committed to being in a movie. Like that stuff that's been brewing in people's heads or ideas that Ridley Scott wanted to use or somebody involved wanted to use from fucking 35 years before.
Right.
And how those ideas bled into Alien, how those ideas bled into Blade Runner, how those ideas continued 30 years later, bleeding into fucking Prometheus and Alien Covenant, unfortunately. But... Oof. That's kind of cool. So that makes it significant, even though it may not be obviously the most significant movie ever made. It is far from a perfect movie, but not one that should be written off. You know, it's...
No, not at all. I think it's worthy in the canon of the Alien franchise. I think it's... Honestly, yeah. I think it's... it goes this way. It goes Aliens, the best Alien movie, and then Aliens, and then Prometheus.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like your trilogy. Like, you can almost, I guess... There's some things left unsaid, but you can kind of, like, especially with Covenant, because Covenant fucked everything up. You could do, like, Prometheus, then you watch Alien, and then you watch Aliens, and just call it a day.
I mean, pretty damn much in terms of, like, you can't watch any of it. The one with Winona Ryder was horrible. The other
I've never even seen it. I refuse to watch it.
Unfortunately, I think it was Alien 3.
Alien 3, directed by David Fincher, you know.
Yeah, and H.R. Geiger was more closely involved, I believe, with the actual design.
Was he really, though?
Yeah, I think, but that's why it came across so ridiculous. I think they kept on using some of his, like, concept art and stuff like that for creatures and shit, and it didn't make any sense mythos-wise. It just turned into a creature show of fucking nonsense, and it didn't make any fucking sense, I think.
Yeah.
Very strange for David Fincher.
Well, I think David Fincher, that's like his Dune with David Lynch. Like, he fucking hates that he directed it, so he doesn't want anything to do with it.
I mean, but, like, look at his, like, the Zodiac. You know, like, look how calculated that movie is and amazing that movie is. It's like, well, dude, when you watch the Zodiac, you're like, I would love to see the Alien movie that this fucking guy made. And then you actually watch that movie because it exists in this world. The planet, you know.
Well, at that time, like, he wasn't at the height of his power, so he couldn't. No. He didn't have enough pull with the studio to be like, hey, I want to do this or that. So
no, yeah.
It was a work for hire thing. He had to do what he was told.
No, for sure, but just in terms of capability, and you know what that director can deliver. You know, obviously, a few years after that, not even 10 years after that, he did Fight Club. So it's like, dude, you made Fight Club. You have an excuse. You're a young director, but you have no excuse because look what you created less than a decade after.
Yeah.
You fucking bastard.
Well, what I'm saying is he rose up and he had more control.
Oh, no, absolutely, and I agree. But no, honestly, watch this movie.
Like, I mean, yeah, if they're any younger, I mean, we're in our 30s here.
Yeah,
so
I'm getting old.
We are recommending stuff. Maybe there are listeners here that haven't seen any of these movies. You know, start with the Alien and everything. But honestly, you're gonna. This is the most controversial one as far as like you're gonna hear bad stuff about this one.
Yeah, not perfect.
It's not. You know what though? Like, it's not like it ruins anything.
No.
I mean, Covenant kind of does, but. Not, even that doesn't really, but it's still stupid. We're like, why are you doing it?
It's a shitty masterpiece.
What a great! That'd be great if they had that on the fucking back of the Blu-ray. You know? It's a shitty masterpiece.
It really
Jake.
is.
I was just about to say your last name.
No. Jake the Snake.
Who? Jake the Snake.
Jake
from
the Snake.
New York Times. But yeah, I mean.
Watch this movie.
Jake, I gotta say, this was a good drunken analysis of this masterpiece.
A true meeting of the minds. When
this
it comes
masterpiece,
to Prometheus.
sort of.
Well, yes. It's kind of a masterpiece. But really, no, it was fun. I would honestly, I think it would be cool to do... it would definitely be cool to do like actually that commentary for like Alien or Aliens.
And here's the thing, cool. I know. Look, I'm not stupid. I know my channel's just starting out. I'm not even past 1,000 subscribers yet. I want whoever's in the audience that actually listens to all these videos. Let us know what you guys think we should not listen to. Talk about next.
Yeah, if you have any ideas, anything.
We're so fucking drunk at this point.
No, definitely. Fuck about like, really, subscribe, fucking comment. Let us know what's up.
Let us know what you guys want to, and it's got to be in the realm of science fiction and just any genre stuff.
Watch this fucking movie.
Yeah, if you haven't yet. And honestly, let us know what you thought sucked about it in the comments. Because this is one of those movies where somebody could probably tell us 8 things in the comments right now, and I'd be like, yeah, that's actually dumb too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of inconsistencies with this movie. We didn't touch on all of them. We didn't really talk about everything, but like fundamentally, we I think covered most of the bases in that regard. But it's a great movie. It's absolutely retarded sometimes.
I love the contradictions you have going on. It's a great movie, and it's retarded.
You know, like, there's no way around it. Like, there is no way around it. Like, I can defend it, because I do watch it a lot. Just to, to fall asleep to. So even that's a contradiction.
What he means by that is he jerks off to the scene where Charlize Theron is doing push-ups when she just comes out of, like, cryo sleep or whatever.
Oh, come on, man. It's super hot. It's a great scene.
That's what he means by it. He's like, it's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. That
it's
super shitty.
It's masturbate. Wait. It's a masturbation.
No, but it was kind of fun talking about this. I would like to talk about more movies like this. Movies that are
Jake will
good,
be back.
but...
He's the only co-host until we start to get diverse and have a girl in.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll get a girl in.
Yeah.
And no, it was a good time though. I think we had. It's so funny. We had a lot to say about this fucking movie. Holy shit, man! We had more to say about this than like Dune, and like we're more into Dune.
I know we're way more into Dune. No, like this is. Yeah, no, I didn't expect to have so much to say about this movie. I guess, but no, it was crazy. This is a crazy ass movie, especially having to go back and actually kind of analyze it and rewatch it. Because.
Yeah.
Trying to frame it up and talk about it, and it's just like, wow, there is actually a lot to talk about with this movie if you sit down and go beat for beat. Is it worth it? I don't know.
I mean, but you know what? We had a good time doing it, and I hope you guys had a good time listening to it, and we're going to be back with a lot of different stuff. We're going to try to do this, pretty much every other week. We're going to try to do a podcast, and we're switching off between a lot of things. We still got the Batman book club. I mean, I'm going to be doing that by myself, and Jake's going to be coming in for the special ones, like the one-shot comics. And, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. So stay tuned, guys, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, we'll see you next time, and take care, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Said see ya!
Bye. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.